Both India and China responded cautiously, emphasizing restraint while reinforcing defensive preparedness. The incident prompted broader discussions on de-escalation measures, troop rotation, and protocols for high-tension areas. The Galwan Valley, tucked deep within the high-altitude deserts of eastern Ladakh, is a place of stark beauty and relentless danger. Craggy mountains rise like silent sentinels, their jagged peaks piercing the thin, cold air. The Galwan River snakes through the valley floor, its waters glinting silver under the pale light of the setting sun. By mid-June, the snow of the high Himalayas has begun to retreat, but the temperature here rarely rises above freezing at night. June 15, 2020 was a day that began quietly, almost deceptively so. For months, tensions had been simmering along this remote stretch of the line of actual control, the boundary that divides India and China in this region. Patrols moved cautiously, each step measured, each gesture weighed. In the rarefied air, every heartbeat felt amplified, every sound echoing off the barren cliffs. Sound, wind whistling across the valley, distant clatter of rocks. Both Indian and Chinese forces had established temporary positions along the valley's banks. The soldiers on both sides were aware of each other's presence, yet the night had an eerie calm, the calm before the storm. As dusk gave way to night, Indian patrols moved closer to monitor Chinese positions near the river bend. On the opposite bank, Chinese troops conducted their own reconnaissance. Every movement was deliberate, every signal studied. The terrain itself was merciless: steep cliffs, frozen riverbeds, and jagged rocks that offered no cover. A misstep here could be fatal, not just because of enemy fire, but because of the treacherous environment. Around 9:30 p.m., the first spark of confrontation occurred. Accounts from both sides indicate that a disagreement over the positioning of posts escalated. Words, gestures, and tension rapidly combined to create an atmosphere charged with hostility. Visibility was poor, and the sounds of shouted warnings echoed through the valley, bouncing off the cliffs and adding to the confusion. The clash began near a river bend where patrols from both sides unexpectedly confronted each other. Equipment was limited. Rifles were rarely used in the close-quarter combat that unfolded. Instead, the soldiers relied on batons, improvised weapons, and sheer physical strength. Sound, clanging of metal, shouted commands, muffled struggles, the cold intensified the pain, blood freezing almost instantly on exposed skin. Rock slippery from the melting ice, and the river's edge offering little room to maneuver. Soldiers grappled with each other, both sides showing determination, courage, and in some moments, desperation. The battle was brief, lasting only a few hours, but its intensity was unlike anything seen in the region for decades. The terrain amplified every sound: the snap of a baton, the crack of a falling rock, the sharp intake of breath. No side had clear advantage. Both were bound by the environment as much as by conflict. By midnight, the fighting subsided. Silence returned to the valley, broken only by the rushing of the Galwan River and the distant echoes of the mountains. Both armies retreated to temporary positions, bruised, exhausted, and aware that the consequences of this clash would extend far beyond the valley. The soldiers were left to tend to injuries in the freezing night. The harsh landscape offered no mercy. Each casualty was a silent testimony to the bravery, the fear, and the chaos that had unfolded under the cover of darkness. Reports reached commanding officers in the early hours of the morning. It became clear that the confrontation had resulted in losses on both sides, though accurate details remained uncertain in the immediate aftermath. The world would soon awaken to news of a clash in a place most had never heard of, the Galwan Valley. A remote battlefield now etched into modern history. This night, under the indifferent stars of the Himalayas, the Galwan Valley bore witness to courage and conflict, human struggle and tragedy. The river, silent again, would continue its relentless flow, carrying the memory of that night in its icy waters. As darkness fully enveloped the Galwan Valley, soldiers on both sides adjusted to the unforgiving cold. Temperatures had dropped well below freezing, and the thin mountain air made every breath a labor. Patrols huddled briefly behind rocks and ridges, catching glimpses of the enemy across the river, measuring distance and reassessing strategy. Indian soldiers, trained for high-altitude warfare, moved cautiously. One misstep on the ice could mean serious injury or exposure to the enemy. Chinese troops mirrored the same caution, aware that the valley's treacherous terrain was as much an opponent as the soldiers themselves. At around 10:15 p.m., the confrontation escalated. A small group of Indian soldiers attempted to advance along a narrow ridge to reinforce their forward post, while Chinese patrols moved simultaneously to secure the same high ground. The distance between them was less than 100 meters, yet in the darkness, every movement carried risk. Initial attempts at verbal communication failed. Shouts were misinterpreted, gestures misunderstood, and within minutes, the encounter transformed into physical engagement. Stones and improvised batons became the primary weapons, while rifles remained unused to prevent escalation into full-scale artillery conflict. Soldiers grappled along the icy riverbanks, their breaths forming clouds that merged with the mist rising from the river. Each skirmish was fleeting yet brutal, demanding extraordinary strength and endurance. The extreme altitude made every exertion exhausting, muscles cramped, energy drained, yet the struggle continued. Amid the chaos, discipline and courage emerged in small acts. Officers tried to maintain order, shouting commands through the frigid air, reminding troops of formation and positioning. Soldiers shielded comrades from falls, pulled them away from the edge of the river, and, in fleeting moments, locked eyes with the enemy, human faces staring at each other through fog and shadow. By 11 p.m., the clash had intensified near a narrow stretch of the river. The Galwan, swollen with glacial melt, rushed alongside silently, a witness to the struggle. One slip could send a soldier into the icy waters where survival chances were slim. Rocks, jagged and slick, became both obstacles and weapons. Fear and adrenaline coexisted. The mind sharpened by instinct, the body pushed beyond its limits, and yet a quiet respect lingered amidst the combat. Every opponent was also a soldier, enduring the same bitter cold, exhaustion, and peril. Around midnight, the fighting reached its peak. Shouts echoed across the valley walls, a mixture of commands, cries, and exertion. Riverbanks bore the marks of struggle, displaced rocks, broken branches, footprints imprinted in snow and mud, and discarded equipment. The valley seemed to shudder under the weight of human conflict. Finally, after hours of engagement, both sides began to withdraw to temporary positions. Exhaustion, injuries, and the harsh environment made continuation impossible. Silence returned to the valley. Broken only by the relentless flow of the Galwan River, soldiers tended to the wounded with limited medical supplies. Frostbite threatened exposed skin, injuries worsened in the cold, and survival depended heavily on comrades. Losses had occurred, though precise numbers remained unclear due to the confusion and chaos inherent in such extreme combat. By the early hours of morning, reports reached commanding officers on both sides. Communications crackled with tension and uncertainty as each side tried to piece together the events of the night. Beyond the mountains, the world had yet to awaken to the news of the deadly confrontation that had unfolded in one of the most remote regions on Earth. The night grew colder, the wind whipping through the jagged peaks of the Galwan Valley. Soldiers on both sides had been engaged in intermittent skirmishes for hours. Yet exhaustion did not slow the determination of those who remained on their feet. The ground was uneven, littered with sharp rocks and ice patches, and every movement demanded caution. Footing was treacherous. One wrong step could result in a fall into the icy river or a tumble down the cliffside. Amid this chaos, small groups sought tactical advantage. Patrols moved silently along ridges and riverbanks. Using shadows and terrain for cover, soldiers relied on hand signals and whispers, aware that a single shout could expose them to enemy observation. Every action was deliberate, calculated, and measured against the harsh reality of the environment. Improvised weapons, rods, batons, and stones became extensions of strength, while gloved hands gripped them tightly, knuckles white from the cold. Some soldiers clung to rocks, trying to anchor themselves against the surge of adrenaline and fear. Faces streaked with blood, frost forming along hairlines, eyes wide with focus. They fought not only the enemy but the unforgiving mountain air. In those moments, the distinction between courage and survival blurred. Each soldier was driven by duty, discipline, and the instinct to protect their comrades. The Galwan River, dark and relentless, carved a path through the valley, separating the two forces, yet forcing confrontations at narrow points. Patrols attempted to outflank each other, using the natural terrain to gain higher ground. Ridges offered momentary safety, only to become traps as the enemy maneuvered to cut off escape routes. Every confrontation was fleeting, yet brutal, a test of strength, endurance, and resolve. In some areas, soldiers grappled in the mud and ice, rolling, pushing, and striking in a relentless struggle. The cold numbed the senses, but pain and fear sharpened reflexes. Muscles cramped under extreme exertion, and yet the fight continued. It was a battle of human willpower, tested against both adversary and environment. Amid the chaos, moments of human connection emerged. Soldiers pulled wounded comrades away from danger, offered support to those slipping on icy slopes, and shielded one another from blows. Across the river, eyes met eyes in fleeting acknowledgement of shared hardship, a silent recognition of courage in the midst of conflict. The intensity reached a critical point around midnight. Groups clashed along a particularly narrow riverbank, where the flowing water threatened to sweep anyone into the icy depths. Rocks were thrown, batons swung, and the ground shook with the force of struggle. Every movement carried risk. Every strike was both defensive and aggressive. Exhaustion weighed heavily, yet determination pushed the soldiers forward. By 1 a.m., the immediate confrontations began to wane. Both sides had suffered injuries and realized that the environment itself had become as dangerous as the enemy. Slowly, soldiers withdrew to temporary positions, tending to wounds with minimal supplies. Frostbite and lacerations compounded the toll, yet there was a quiet resilience, an unspoken understanding that survival and duty were intertwined. In the aftermath, the valley was littered with the remnants of combat. Rocks displaced from their resting places, trampled snow, broken branches, and scattered equipment told the story of hours of struggle. The Galwan River continued to flow, indifferent to the human conflict it had witnessed, carrying with it the memory of the night's events. As dawn approached, commanding officers pieced together reports. The true scale of injuries and losses was beginning to emerge, though precise figures remained uncertain. Beyond the mountains, the world had yet to grasp the significance of what had occurred, a night of courage, tragedy, and enduring tension in one of the most remote regions on Earth. As the first light of dawn began to touch the peaks of the Galwan Valley, a fragile calm settled over the battlefield. The icy winds carried no echoes of struggle, only the relentless rush of the river that had witnessed the night's events. Soldiers, exhausted and injured, regrouped in small clusters, assessing the cost of the confrontation. The valley, silent now, bore the marks of the struggle: trampled snow, displaced rocks, and scattered personal effects. The immediate priority was tending to the wounded. With medical supplies limited and temperatures hovering below freezing, every minute mattered. Frostbite and hypothermia were constant threats, and soldiers relied heavily on comrades for warmth and assistance. The pain of injuries was compounded by the harsh environment, turning simple movements into arduous efforts. Yet amid the exhaustion, there was a disciplined resilience. Each soldier knew that survival and order depended on cooperation and calm judgment. Commanders on both sides began compiling reports. Communication lines buzzed with urgency, detailing injuries, tactical movements, and the positions held. The fog of war made accurate assessment difficult. Initial accounts were fragmented and contradictory, reflecting the chaotic and high-stakes nature of hand-to-hand combat in such extreme terrain. The sheer isolation of the valley had turned a tactical skirmish into a logistical challenge. Even moving the wounded required careful planning over treacherous ground. As news slowly reached higher authorities, concerns spread beyond the valley. Regional military leadership recognized the potential implications of the clash, while the confrontation had been contained. It highlighted vulnerabilities and the need for clear communication and border management. Strategic assessments began immediately, analyzing terrain advantages, troop positioning, and the factors that had escalated a patrol encounter into a violent engagement. Lessons from this night would shape future operations and diplomatic discussions for months to come. The first reports also reached international media. Headlines began to circulate: a clash along the India-China border in Ladakh, soldiers injured in hand-to-hand combat, tensions rising in one of the world's most sensitive border regions. Analysts highlighted the significance of the remote Galwan Valley, emphasizing its strategic importance and the risks inherent in high-altitude operations. Diplomatic channels were alerted, with both nations carefully framing narratives to avoid full-scale escalation. Yet each side was keenly aware that global attention had shifted to this frozen battlefield. Within India and China, the human dimension of the battle became a focal point. The soldiers' bravery was acknowledged even as political and military leaders emphasized restraint. Families awaited news in anxious silence, unaware of the full details until official communication reached them. The images of snow-covered peaks and rugged riverbanks began to circulate, bringing the stark reality of remote, high-altitude conflict into public consciousness. The clash also sparked broader discussions on border infrastructure, troop preparedness, and the challenges of patrolling such remote and treacherous regions. Experts noted that while conventional warfare might be constrained by geography, hand-to-hand combat in extreme conditions posed unique risks that could not be mitigated by technology alone. Every movement was a calculated risk. Every engagement, a test of endurance, training, and willpower. Amid the strategic and political considerations, the soldiers themselves returned to their posts or temporary shelters. Carrying the physical and emotional marks of the encounter, exhaustion was universal, but so was resolve. The memory of that night, the cold, the struggle, the courage of comrades, and the uncertainty of survival would remain etched in their minds. For those who had witnessed the confrontation firsthand, the valley was no longer merely a stretch of land between two nations. It had become a testament to human resilience and the delicate balance between duty, honor, and survival. By mid-morning, the Galwan Valley had resumed its silent watch. The river flowed steadily, indifferent to the events it had borne witness to. The mountains rose solemnly, shadows shifting with the sun, while the soldiers, now regrouped and reflective, prepared for the days ahead. The world had begun to take notice, but in the valley itself, life continued with cautious vigilance. A quiet reminder that even in the most isolated regions, human conflict leaves an indelible mark. The events of June 15, 2020, in the Galwan Valley left a lasting imprint on the strategic, political, and human landscape of the region. While the immediate confrontation had ended with both sides withdrawing to temporary positions, the ramifications extended far beyond the icy riverbanks. Military analysts and historians began examining the clash not as an isolated skirmish, but as a reflection of broader tensions. Geographical challenges and human endurance at extreme altitudes, the battle highlighted the vulnerability of forces operating in such harsh terrain. Even routine patrols carried risk, amplified by altitude, cold, and the narrow, unforgiving river valley. Soldiers were forced to rely on training, discipline, and instinct, demonstrating remarkable resilience in conditions where modern technology could offer only limited advantage. The extreme environment became a silent participant in the conflict, shaping its intensity and outcome. Strategically, the Galwan Nights served as a case study in high-altitude warfare. Commanders from both sides analyzed every tactical decision, positioning of troops along ridges, timing of patrols, and the use of natural terrain as both shield and weapon. The engagement underscored the importance of intelligence, reconnaissance, and clear communication, revealing how quickly minor misunderstandings could escalate into serious confrontations. The clash also resonated diplomatically. Global observers recognized the delicate balance required in such regions, where border disputes intersect with international scrutiny. Both India and China responded cautiously, emphasizing restraint while reinforcing defensive preparedness. The incident prompted broader discussions on de-escalation measures, troop rotation, and protocols for high-tension areas. Governments realized that isolated incidents in remote valleys could carry consequences far beyond their immediate surroundings. On a human level, the Galwan Night revealed the extraordinary courage of soldiers facing impossible odds. The physical and psychological toll was immense. Frostbite, injuries, and the mental strain of hand-to-hand combat in darkness. Yet the resilience of these individuals, their commitment to duty, and the solidarity with comrades demonstrated the enduring capacity of humans to endure extreme adversity. Accounts from soldiers highlighted both the chaos of combat and moments of quiet humanity, assisting the wounded, sharing warmth, and maintaining morale in the face of overwhelming conditions. The legacy of the Galwan Knight extends beyond military strategy and international relations. It has become a reminder of the costs of tension along borders and the importance of dialogue, preparation, and conflict management. The valley itself, silent once again, stands as a witness to sacrifice, endurance, and the limits of human endeavor in extreme conditions. Historians and analysts note that while the clash did not escalate into full-scale warfare, it reshaped perceptions of border security and preparedness. It prompted nations to reassess troop deployment, infrastructure, and logistical capabilities in remote high-altitude regions. The lessons of Galwan are not merely tactical but also philosophical, understanding the interplay between human action, environment, and the broader consequences of conflict. For those who lived through that night, the memory of the valley, the icy river, and the struggle will remain vivid. For the world beyond the mountains, it became a symbol of tension, courage, the enduring importance of vigilance and diplomacy. The Galwan Valley, once a remote and silent stretch of the Himalayas, had entered history not through the clash of guns, but through the courage, resilience, and humanity of those who faced the night. In the years that followed, the Galwan Night has been studied, remembered, and reflected upon. It stands as a testament to the fragility of peace, the harsh realities of conflict in extreme environments, and the enduring human spirit in the face of overwhelming challenges. The river continues to flow, the mountains continue to rise, and the valley continues to watch silently, a timeless reminder of a night that reshaped history, honored bravery, and offered lessons that extend far beyond the frozen heights of eastern Ladakh. This completes the full documentary-style script for the Galwan Night, June 15, 2020, in 5 parts, fully neutral, continuous, and ready for